Welcome to Femme Parler Podcast, where we are unpacking opinions and changing destinations. I am your host, Sherley Altador, where each week we will chat about how to rise strong out of all types of obstacles that come with relationships. Through personal life experiences and discussions ranging from infidelity, trust, forgiveness, sex, heartbreak, self-love, and so much more. I am passionate and obsessed to provide guidance to every woman to create a better life. Let's dive in, pull up a seat, make sure you're cozy, and get ready to be challenged and encouraged while you learn. With me, your virtual girlfriend. Welcome back to Femme Parler. Today we're going to be talking about sex in a relationship, which is part of season 3. Today, we are going to interview Michele Olivier. She offers a unique perspective on career development and job searching with an impressive record of accomplishment on both sides of the desk. She combines over 20 years of experience in HR and recruitment with certifications in career guidance and counseling, and she knows how to meet the needs of both applicants and organizations when it comes to matching talented people with top jobs. Michele, thank you for being our guest today as we talk about a topic that people do not like to speak about, but they do like to think about, and they do like to engage in the activity, such as sex. So
Absolutely.
welcome.
I think everybody talks about it after a couple margaritas. It's just the sober grown-up talk that is wanting, I think.
You know what I thought, Michele, is I feel like a lot of people don't like talking about it, and they like to use the word of shame or that's none of your business. But my
Mhm.
perspective is, if you feel as though you're mature enough to engage in the activity, why do you feel as though you are not mature enough to speak about the activity that you are engaged in?
Absolutely. Absolutely. If you're big enough to do it, you better be big enough to talk about it.
Exactly. We are all doing it. It's kind of like we're all using the bathroom. We're all shitting and pissing, right?
Mhm.
So if we're all having sex, why can't we discuss it? Why?
I I don't understand. And I also get frustrated because I have friends who, in my friend group, I'm like the person that will talk about whatever. And so when they have questions, when they have things they want to know, I'm the one of the people they come to ask, but like they need the alcohol as an excuse. So they'll take like 2 sips of a glass of wine and be like, "Oh, it went straight to my head, by the way." And I'm like,
Really?
"Girl, if you just want to know, just ask. Come
Just ask
on.
me. Okay.
Come on."
All right. So, first, we're going to talk about you today. And we're going to talk about, first, before we get into the topic of sex, I want you to share with us your infertility journey, sex at
Okay?
40, and sex with toddlers, because we're both moms. So, at one point, I was a toddler, and I have some interesting stories to tell about some of the visions my kids have seen as little ones. And, I don't
Uh,
even feel bad about it. It is what it is. Let's just put it this way: the first time my daughter saw us have a sex, she was 6 months old. And I think she immediately started screaming. I think in her little baby 6-month-old eyes, it probably looked extremely barbaric, but that's my little story of my kids getting a glimpse.
Well, my kid's room is upstairs at the other end of the house, so that's less of an issue for us so far. Um, for us, it was more that we, because their room is so far away, when they were little, for the first like 6, 9 months, they slept in our room. And for the first couple months, they slept in the bed. My husband was not about that because there is no game with a newborn in your bed.
And that's why
Now,
my 6-month daughter caught us, because that man is like, when they want it now. Like, let's go. We doing it.
absolutely. But at the same time, to be fair, like, nothing feels less sexy than a new C-section and bleeding nipples. Like, I'm not gonna lie to you. I was like,
Did you have C-sections?
don't. Both of them are C-sections.
Same
Absolutely.
here. Same here.
Then it's just nope. Like, I am pretty tough. I'm a pretty tough cookie, and never in my life have I experienced pain.
Really?
Like, after my first C-section, the nurse came and did that thing where they squeeze out everything. I didn't have any pain meds in me at that moment, so she did it, like, just they had just cut me in half and they're oh my giddy aunt. I have never felt pain like that before.
Really? And I'm a
Oof.
opposite. I was not. My kids are 10 and a half months apart. So after my
Yeah.
C-section, I was already conceived my second child within 6 weeks.
Wow. Well, and so, yeah, my kids are 18 months apart,
Okay.
but that
Okay.
was why I had to have the C-section for the second one.
Okay.
So, but let's back up and I can tell you how they got here and then we can talk about that other part. So, I didn't menstruate when I was a kid. And finally when I was 18, my mom was like, "Hey, maybe we should see a doctor about that."
Step back a minute. Okay,
Mm.
so this is educational for me now. You did not get a normal period at the young prime little ripple age like most girls.
No ma'am.
What is this called?
PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome.
Oh, that okay. So that all falls under that and that happens. Okay,
Mhm.
got it. Continue so our listeners know what's going on here.
Yep. So at 18, I was told that when your PCOS is that extreme, fertility is not a thing, that I would never have kids. And so that's a big thing to put on an 18-year-old kid. And I kind of internalized that and translated that into fuck it, I don't want kids anyway.
Okay, so
And
that's how you process it.
I
But
just
really,
leaned
was that a
in.
shield because inside you were really hurt?
Yeah, of course I was hurt, and it made me like, it messed up my relationship with sex and with
Oh,
men for a while. I married my first husband. That was fine. That ended.
okay.
I met my second husband and, I something changed. And when we were together, I was like, I I need to make this man a father. With this guy, I could do kids.
Okay.
And I was like, science come a long way since I was 18.
Mhm.
What the hell? Um, we were in the UK at the time. So we went to fertility doctors. We had two different fertility doctors in the UK turned us away and refused to work with us. They said that I had less than a 10% chance of carrying to term. I had been through at that point cervical cancer. I had had multiple tumors excised. I think at that point I was on my third leap. All of that together plus the PCOS, they were just like, no.
Oh my god.
And the UK is super fat phobic when it comes to moms, and I'm overweight, and they were just like, "Nope, you're too fat to deserve a baby." And so they turned us away. And
Now,
then
Michelle,
go
I'm
ahead.
looking at
Mm.
you. You're when I think of fat,
Mhm.
and I'm not trying to be offensive, I think of the show 600 Pounds and Over.
Mhm.
I
Oh,
look
no,
at
I'm an
you and I
18-20 girl.
but
No, yeah.
I look
I
at
am
you
the
as a
American
thick
standard.
people look at me really small, girl. I wear size 8 in jeans. I'm like
Mhm.
a couple sandwiches and I'm almost going to be fitting into like a 10 if I really
Mhm.
eat for a week. So that's why I'm like, okay, but go ahead. That's what but the other thing wanted to ask you and
Yeah.
have you never gotten a period?
So, when we immigrated to the US in 2013, and in 2015,
Uh-huh.
I had bariatric surgery. And with that, I lost about 100 pounds.
Okay.
And for the first time in my life, I had a period.
In your
And
20s.
my 30s,
That's the first time in your life you got a period. But
35.
PCOS, you had the extreme situation. Not everyone with PCOS don't get a
That's
period.
right.
Okay.
That's right. It's
Okay.
a spectrum like everything else.
Okay,
So
got it.
some people have it and it messes with them a little bit. I'm on the far hairy edge of extreme.
Okay, got it.
Um, so I got my period for the first time. I got a coil.
What's
Um,
that?
a Mirena coil is a birth control device that they insert into your
I
uterus,
know what
and
you're
then it's
talking
a
about.
passive
Okay.
birth control.
Gotcha.
So I got the Mirena coil, and my body said nope, and kicked it out. And I said to my husband, I was like, I know this is going to sound crazy, but I think this is a sign that we need to revisit the baby conversation. And he was like, it doesn't maybe sound crazy. You sound totally fucking nuts right now. But he loves my brand of nuts. And so he went along with it. We went to the first fertility doctor. They said the same thing. They were like, you have a less than 10% chance, probably closer to 5%. We do not engage with that. At this point, I had had another leap and another bad pap.
Mm.
And they were like, look, if anybody can help you, there's this one facility in the area. Go there. And if they say no, they're the best in the country. If they can't do it, no one can. We went and met with them, and the doctor said, read all of our stats, read all of the paperwork, everything. Oh, and on top of all this, when we started it, we found out that my husband also doesn't make swimmers. So I don't work and he doesn't work.
Okay.
Yeah.
All
So
right.
we were just like, the good news on this, right, is that like we took all of the other options out of the table. Like we were like, we knew we needed maximum science
Got it.
if this was gonna happen.
And that's good that he was on board because, a lot of times,
Uh,
how was he when he found out he wasn't making swimmers? Did that affect him?
he wasn't
Men,
even
that's
really surprised. Like
okay.
I think he
Okay.
was like,
It is what
okay.
it is. All right.
Yeah, he was like, "Do I still look good to you?" I'm like, "I mean, your sperm count was not what attracted me to you, so we good."
Exactly.
And like that was, that was it. So, yeah, so we went to the doctor, he read all the stuff and he said, "Well, when do you want to be pregnant?" And I was like,
What a
"Yesterday."
blessing.
And I thought my husband was going to punch him. He was so angry. He was like, "That cocky so and so, how does he think he's so much better than everybody else?" I mean, the whole like next week, I heard about what a jerk this doctor was, how cocky he was, how dare he, blah 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 blah. Well, 2 babies later, my husband says he can be as cocky as he wants.
That cocky son of a bitch got you kids.
That's right. He was like, everything that man said was gonna happen happened exactly the way he said it, and it worked. And if you're that good, you get to be that cocky.
And kudos to the facility who referred you to him because you
Yeah.
were deadlock at that point. You didn't know what
Yeah.
to do. Okay.
Well, and we had a couple of other friends who had used fertility, and like everybody recommended this. Say, like Texas Fertility is one of the premier fertility groups in the nation. They
Okay.
just happen to be like 10 minutes from my house,
The
which
gentleman who got you pregnant is okay. So this was in Texas. This was not in the UK.
nope,
Okay.
this is in Texas. Yeah, that was
Okay.
here. Yeah, both of my boys were born stateside.
Okay, got it. Got it.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was convenient that he was local enough and the drive wasn't sometimes the facilities are far away.
Oh, yeah, for sure. So for part of it, we had to drive. I think for one of them, we did have to drive, and it was like a half-hour drive or
That's
something to get
nothing.
there.
That's
No, it
nothing.
is nothing. And there are people who fly from literally all over the world
Yeah.
to come to this clinic and their facilities because they're so good.
Okay.
Um, and they're very good at what they do, but they're also kind and they try to make it as affordable as they can while still, being a business and paying their bills.
Did you send me that
Um,
facility information?
I can do.
Yeah,
It's
once we're
Texas.
done. Once we're
Yeah,
done, just email it to me and I'll add it to the link. That way, for
yeah.
anybody out there that maybe want to look into it, that's going through any infertility issues, they can definitely keep that in mind.
And any of your listeners who are going through that, if they have questions, I don't mind if they use my contact details to reach out to me about that as well,
Okay,
because
wonderful. Thank you.
that's a big burden to be carrying. And so I walked a mile in those shoes for sure.
I think, Michelle, we all can understand as a woman, that's one thing. There are women out there that don't want kids, understandable, but
Mhm.
majority of women, the first thing you think about is to procreate, to have a
Yeah.
child, to bear children. The thought of, for me, when I was younger, not being able to have children was devastating for me. Of course, I didn't have any issues, but shit, I had 4 pregnancies, 1 abortion, 1 miscarriage. That abortion and that miscarriage is detrimental to me. The miscarriage, I thought I was done. I thought like,
Mm.
okay, God, you hate me. You don't love me anymore. Am I being crucified for the decision that I made when I was younger? What the hell is going on? Am I ever going to have kids? So I can even understand what you're going through when like at
Oh, for
18, you're
real.
telling me like I can't have children. Fuck you. But I'm going to act like I'm okay when I'm really not.
Well, and when we were going through it, we found out that my husband, his brother, and his wife had been going through it for 10 years. 10 years they went through IVF. She had 3 late-term miscarriages, one of them at 21 weeks, and I just, I can't. I told my husband, I was like, my heart just does not have it in me to have hope and lose it and have hope and lose it that many times and to deal with that level of grief.
How are they
Um,
now?
so she finally, their last chance worked, and at 41, she had twins. S
Congratulations to her. 10 years, not
Yes.
only dealing with that issue, how do you sustain your marriage?
I
How? How
Yeah.
did they even keep it together? Because her emotional state was like this.
Well, and they were super private about the whole thing. So
Oh,
we didn't even know as family that they were going through it
did she just have a
until we
breakdown?
were.
Or she
No.
finally opened up when she realized you
When
guys,
we said we're going to go through IVF, they were like, "Oh, well, in that case, let me tell you."
but you know that's
And
how it
so,
happens. Now all of a sudden you
mhm.
made her feel comfortable, Michelle.
Absolutely. Well, and my family, we chose not to tell my family with the first one. So we went through everything. We went through the harvest. We didn't even tell them that we had started the process, that we had met with the doctors,
Mhm.
nothing. We kept everything completely to ourselves um, for my siblings. And they were pissed. I think
Why?
they may still be pissed. They felt entitled to that information.
Entitled?
Yeah, they really felt like we that they deserved to be part of that, to be able to be there to support us and to be part of that story.
Okay, I mean, I can see the positive in what they're saying. I can understand, but the word entitled, no, you're not entitled to anything in my life. I share with you what I want to share with you, and at the end of the day, I told you what support. What else did you want to do?
Well, and our take, so they were angrier that there were other people in our life who did know. And what we said was the people who knew were the people who were literally in my house when I had syringes full of fertility drugs in my refrigerator. And either they're going to think I'm shooting something up or I'm going to tell them what's going on. And those are like maybe if you were around more,
Are
you
they
would have
local?
known. Yes.
So
9
they
minutes door to door to my brother's house.
so did they want to be at every visit, or they just wanted to be
They
submerged in your
just wanted to
information?
know.
Okay.
They felt like they wanted to know. They were annoyed that they didn't have the opportunity to be there for us through it. And I said, if I had wanted you to be there for me, I'd have told you.
Yeah. They're not resentful now, are they? They keep their little feelings to themselves.
Every once in a while they get mad. Every once in a while, like if something comes up, if I mention something health wise,
Mhm.
they'll get a little momentarily pissy with me and be like, well, just this time, know that if you're going through such and so, you better call. I'm like, oh, for God's sake.
Is it Big Brother?
No, I'm the oldest.
Oh, shit,
No.
then they'll be fine, girl. They will like, really get over yourselves.
Yeah, there was nothing they could do about it. There was nothing that their input could have done except that my take was if it didn't work,
Mhm.
I wanted as few phone calls as possible to have to tell people it didn't work.
And you know what? I understand your analogy because that's like, especially if someone maybe had a lot of miscarriages, when they have that successful pregnancy where they enter into the second trimester, a lot of times they will wait till they're much further along before they share that information because you don't want to hear, oh my God, I'm sorry.
Mhm.
You don't want
Mhm.
to hear that. when you've just went through losing a child.
Yep.
There's not an amount of sorries or phone calls in this world that can make you feel better. And then God forbid if you don't answer the calls or if you reject people, then they start to feel some type of way. Well, she doesn't want to speak to me or she's rejecting me. But that person is going through something that's extremely hard. Just
Yep.
let them be at peace. And when they're ready to open up or talk to you or take your phone call, believe me, they will.
It's people trying to make your grief about them
Yeah, it
and
is.
your process about them. Oh, I want to be there for you. Well, if I want you to be there for me, I'll let you know. And until then, bye, Felicia.
Exactly. Bye, Felicia. I'll let you know. So now, through all that, you've been blessed with 2 babies.
2 beautiful boys.
2
Yep,
beautiful
Magic and
boys,
Legend.
2 and 4. So this is not old either. They're 2 and 4 years old. So we're still fairly in the beginning stages. So now
Mhm.
you're a mama. And when you
Yep.
look back and you remember, do you vision that doctor in your head and you wish you could go now? Look, motherfucker, I got 2 kids.
I would love to line them all up and be like, look at these boys.
Yeah.
Tell me again how I can't do this.
That's
Absolutely.
a blessing. That's a blessing. So
They
now
are great.
let's talk about sex with 2 toddlers, because for many years you didn't have to worry about having sex because there were no children and to invade your privacy, to come knocking on your door to scream, "Mommy, Daddy." How at 40 sex with toddlers? And that goes into our question we're going to intertwine. Do you feel as though you need to schedule it now?
I tell you what, there's nothing in this world that is as effective of a cock block as a baby monitor.
Girl.
Like you just about, right? Like it's been a long ass day. You finally got them down. You're like, hey, I'm not so tired that I forgot that you're good looking. And he's like, I know, right? And like you're just starting, and then every time, it feels like, Mommy. They're going through a period where they're having night terrors right now. And like, so your mom heart stops cold, right? Because your baby is screaming in terror at something in that room.
I'm glad you said that. Mom heart stops because dad'll be like, they'll be fine. They'll be fine.
Oh no, he's as bad as I am.
Is
He's
he?
like jumps up and out of the bed. He's like halfway to the door. I'm like, stop.
Oh, roles are reversed here.
Well, no, I'm freaking out, but I gotta like manage his freak out as well, right? I'm like, so I'm trying to manage me, the babies, and him, and like, and then the dog is all upset because he's like, Mom is weird, and like, oh my God, like the whole house is on red alert because some kid had a bad dream.
Oh goodness.
And I'm like, you just gotta chill. And he knows intellectually, but like, I think for him, anytime it happens when we're like trying to get our sexy fun time on, like he feels guilty. And I'm like, there is no guilt.
He feels guilty?
We did parenting. Yeah.
It is okay for them to cry.
He is English. They feel guilty about everything. They're worse than Catholics. I mean, it's
that's
like,
why.
Was
sex during pregnancy tough because did he feel as though he was going to poke the baby?
Well, interestingly, with IVF, you cannot have an orgasm or get aroused for the first trimester.
What? Wait. First trimester is what, 16 weeks?
13. The first 13 weeks.
So Michele, what you telling me is that
Girl, it was hard. It was hard.
Yeah. So
because you have all those crazy baby hormones and you're just like, whoo.
You couldn't have sex for 13 weeks?
Can't have sex.
It just had to be inserted and taken out. Inserted and taken out.
No, you're not supposed to get turned on. You're not, because any of that makes your uterus
contract
and be destable. So you're supposed to,
are you serious?
Picture Donald Trump naked for 13 weeks. See, there you go. Now you don't have that problem.
Make you vomit. Oh, Jesus, that man. But
I know, right?
Okay, so 13. Okay, so y'all did nothing
plus the
for
time
13
before
weeks.
That. Oh no! Plus the time before that, where we were going through everything, and you can't do it then either.
And I know, like in your situation, you like this was important to you. It's not like you had living children and now you like something happened, you're doing
Yeah.
so 13 weeks and the time before that you had to sustain like sexual arousal.
Yeah. We had to I couldn't do anything.
But he could.
He could. So we had to get all kinds of creative. And
Okay.
I was just like, I'm like, because it's hot, right? Like I'm
Yeah.
attracted to this man. That's why we're married. So we tried fucking everything. I was like, okay, what if I just give you a hand job? And I was like, nope, that shit's hot. That's
Yeah,
out.
because that's gonna turn you on.
Blowjob, absolutely. Blowjob for sure out. That was never about to happen. Like, we got to the point where what we could do was I could sit topless on one side of the bed and look at him. And if there was something totally not sexy on the television that I could distract myself with,
Yeah.
I could watch that while he took care of business.
Michelle, you're sitting topless on the bed. You're watching something distracting on TV so your husband can get it on.
Yes, like playing with my
Yo,
boobs.
this is hysterical. Is that the
It
most
was not
creative?
hysterical at the
It
time,
is hysterical
but
now. Is that the most creative?
absolutely.
And then on top of that, like your little belly's out because it does start to
Mhm,
show at
mhm.
that time.
Oh,
Ah,
yeah, especially the second one, I mean, because you had yours close together as well,
yes.
That second one, it's like the moment it gets pregnant, you're just like, boom, out to
Boom.
here.
Yep.
The
That second
first
one.
one, I didn't start to show until, like, halfway through the second trimester,
Okay.
but, like, the first one, I mean, I was in the first trimester, and it was like, "Oh, yep, we got all the baby going up in here."
You had to do it for both, right? For both pregnancies for
Yeah.
the first 13 weeks.
Yeah.
Okay, so I didn't know that. So this is an
Mhm,
interesting fact. When you're
mhm,
going through fertility, you have to prevent arousal on your end.
mhm.
Interesting. Okay, this is
So,
interesting.
they said that you don't absolutely have to, but
It's
it
encouraged.
destabilizes your uterus. And I did not like when you're in that position, right? Like
Mhm.
somebody's told you your chances are this slim. You're reading all of the numbers, right? Like, why would to get off? Is it you had so you sit there and you think to yourself, you put on your grown up head
Yeah.
and you say, okay, is it worth getting off this one time
No, you
for me
wait.
to,
And I
yeah.
get it. You wait. As
Hmm.
hard as it may be, you had
And
to
it
be
was so
creative.
hard.
Yeah.
All pun intended. It was hard most days. Oh
Uh
my god. And then, of course, I was out to here, right?
Out to
By the
here.
time we could,
I
I
could
was
only
all like
imagine
pregnant.
being frustrated though, because were you working at the
Mm.
time too, coming home from work?
So I tried to work
Mhm.
and I was director of recruitment
Mhm.
for a big organization. And director level jobs, that's a 60-hour week
You're
job.
working plus 60, I feel like,
Mhm.
because you take work home a lot of times.
Absolutely, absolutely. So when I got pregnant, they said you're gonna have to take it easy because geriatric pregnancy,
No,
plus
this
IVF.
this chick said geriatric pregnancy.
That's what it was.
Yo,
That's what they call it.
that's what they sell you?
Yes, ma'am. That's on your chart. Every time you go for your scan, it says up there geriatric pregnancy.
What is it, after
Warning.
35?
Yes, ma'am.
Damn. So if I wanna have any more children, it's gonna be considered a
Geriatric
geriatric pregnancy.
Welcome to it.
All right. So what happened with the job? Did you like
So I tried to scale it back.
okay.
And so I cut it back to like 45 hours a week.
Did you have a good
And
assistant?
I hired an assistant and she was excellent.
Good, good.
And I had a week where I did a little more than 45 hours and then I had some spotting and cramping. And my husband said, nope,
Okay.
absolutely not.
Okay.
And so we chose for me to leave work.
Okay.
Um, And then I've never gone back other than I worked for a company um, from remotely.
Mhm.
And then I now work for myself.
Good. Good, 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 good. This is good. Well, that's a blessing and I'm glad that you
Yes.
guys made it work and thankfully, by the grace of God, that you were able to step down from your job and your
Yeah.
husband was still able to keep everything above float.
We were so blessed with that. And I really don't know how couples who don't have that do it, because IVF is expensive. Little Louis and Vuitton were 30 grand each. So, like,
You need a
that's
side gig as a comedian. Yo, I had to stop and think like, what this little now I get, girl, your little other, like, adding another stream of income side
there you
gig as
go.
comedy. Okay.
I'm
Little
in.
Louis
I'm
and
in.
Vuitton, guys. She's talking about the boys.
Yeah. But they were expensive to make, right?
IVF is expensive, but you had an issue. It should be covered.
They only cover, I think they covered like 30%.
Oh, it's not the whole thing that's covered.
So, fertility treatment is not required to be covered by the ADA. It is optional.
So
And
how do
we
you make
have
a
rock star
decision?
insurance
How do you make a decision to only cover 30% if I have an issue? How do you make a decision to
because
only
babies are
cover?
not medically necessary.
Oh, shit. This world we live in.
Mhm.
Everything is about profit.
Mhm.
Okay. That's
So,
crazy.
mhm. People go into insane debt trying to have babies. And one of the things that we found is that so there's all different ways to try to make babies.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and some of them are less, so the less costly,
Mm-hmm.
also the less effective.
Okay.
So if you go for the $4,000 option, which is kind of glorified turkey baster.
Oh, that's the one where they put the sperm in like
Hmm.
that thing and you shoot it up.
Hmm. Right? So if you go for that one, where they like make sure that it gets where it needs to go, they're monitoring you, blah, 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 you're going to pay a lot of money, but it's not nearly as effective as just biting the bullet. And so what winds up happening is people do rounds and rounds and rounds of the cheaper stuff
Mm-hmm.
trying to save money, and then still wind up needing to have the big one.
The big one.
And that's how it
So
gets crazy.
when it comes to fertility, you have the turkey basin, which is
Hmm.
squirting the sperm up. Then you
Hmm.
have the dish. Am I correct? Where the
Oh,
eggs are in the dish.
there's a bunch of different levels,
Oh,
but
there's a
so
bunch of
there's
different ones.
IUI, which is so there's the one where they do an artificial insemination, which is a targeted insemination.
Okay.
They do an option where they actually harvest your eggs, but then they basically just mix it up with the sperm and then
Okay.
put it back in and hope for the best,
Okay.
which is less expensive again. Or there is the full procedure, which is called ICSI, which is what we have,
I've heard of
which
that
is
one.
where they do everything. So they harvest your eggs, and then they take his sperm and they literally microscopically insert his sperm into your egg and then leave them to develop. And so for mine, they harvested 10 eggs, and of those, and then inserted little sperms into all of them, and of those 8 started to grow. And then of those 8, after 5 days, they freeze them, but then you can send off the cells to be tested for genetic testing.
Okay.
Um, and we chose to do that because apparently 80% of miscarriages are because the baby was not viable for life.
Okay.
So there was
Okay.
something in the egg sperm soup
Okay.
that made that not viable for life, and your body knows, and it goes out. So the
And rejects it.
overwhelming majority of miscarriages, that is why.
Okay. Okay.
And so we said, well, shit, then that sounds like a really great way to not have miscarriages. So we sent those off for genetic testing. And it was a good thing we did, because of the 8, only 2 were viable for life. And those are my 2 little boys.
Oh, no. So when you say my two little boys, I understand the first one was implanted and
Mhm.
grew up to be. So you saved the other one.
Yes, my husband likes to joke that they're twins that were born 18 months apart because they were harvested and fertilized on the same day. And then the second one stayed on ice for 18 months until it was time to be put in.
It's cool, but
Yeah.
it's crazy at the same time.
Yes.
So, okay, because honestly and seriously, I thought, you did one and then the second time you got more eggs and they did. So your second son was frozen for 18 months and then he was unfrozen. Science, science, science. I don't work in that field, but the things that they
It's
do are
amazing.
interesting and amazing.
Amazing.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So, oh my gosh, this was a good education for me when it came to fertility. I never knew you could even do that. Your son are you going to tell him that?
Oh, yeah, we tell them all the time.
Okay. You were frozen for 18 months, little boy. You know that? Little
Oh,
Louis.
yes.
Little Louis.
On there, tell you and Vuitton, same day. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. So that we have up on the wall pictures of them in the petri dish.
Oh, okay. You know what? And I like how you are normalizing this in your family.
Absolutely.
And it's not a big, like, hush discussion.
Nope.
That's good. I
Because
applaud that.
it's genetic. So they probably have the same thing.
Okay. Okay. You
And
think so?
so
Like
oh
they'll
yeah,
have a low sperm count?
probably.
Okay.
Yes. We know that
Okay.
it's one of the things that tends to be passed down from dads. So probably my husband's dad
Uh-huh.
had a relatively low sperm count,
Okay.
which
Okay.
makes sense because he was quite the philanderer. It seems like he slept with half of England. So, but he only got 2 kids out of it. So,
Oh, yeah, so it was
statistics,
low.
right?
Yeah. Low, because he should have like a whole bunch of kids out there.
Mhm. So he's got just the 2. And so, and then both of his sons have low sperm count. So
Okay.
probably my sons will as well. So yeah, I need my babies to grow up knowing that this doesn't make you any less of a man, and it doesn't mean that you can't be a dad. My oldest son right now, the only thing he wants to be when he grows up is a dad.
Oh, that's so cute. I mean, it's so
I
cute at 4. And girl,
Oh
his
my
mind may
god.
change 10 years from now when he's 14, but it's
He was
so cute.
breastfeeding his stuffed panda
Did
the
you
other
breastfeed?
day. Of course I did.
I did
Yeah.
as well. How long did you take it?
Not as long as I was going to. My big one, so I was gonna do it for a month, for a year.
Uh-huh.
My big one got to 6 months, tasted food, and he was like, "No, fuck that. Where's the mango?" He was done. He would not no, don't put a bottle near his face. He would have a boob just to go to sleep at night. I was
Okay.
like, "I am not your pacifier.
Oh, it was just
No."
for him to go to sleep. Oh, okay. All
So we
right.
carried on for like 9 months, and then I was like, "We good."
Okay.
Like, as long as we're in the "I'm your pacifier" section, like, we're good. Because I had to be done breastfeeding before they could implant the other one.
Oh,
So,
okay. Okay, so that's good to know. And how long did baby boy 2 get breastfed for?
he was done he made a little bit longer. He made it to about 10 months, but
Okay.
he was still like he was like, "Meh."
Yeah.
I mean,
They started to
really?
wean off, you could tell.
Oh,
Okay.
6 months, and, like, they were all about the food.
Okay.
So, my pediatrician is a big believer in if they can eat, they can eat.
Okay.
So, they don't do the staged foods and all of that, like, they just eat.
Okay.
And both of my boys were like, "Hello, fruit. Where
Yeah.
you
They
been?"
see how that tough tastes.
Oh, they
And they're
were like,
like, this flavorless breast
"What?"
milk.
Breast milk was different, but for both my kids had to be hybrid, and so it
What's
was
hybrid?
so they had both breast milk and formula.
Okay. Okay. Oh,
I
wait,
didn't
in the beginning, you immediately started mixing.
I tried not to,
Okay.
and my body had other plans.
Oh,
Um, so, I couldn't make enough, so for their health, I had to, supplement.
okay. Okay.
which is normal for IVF moms. Um,
You may not
so,
produce?
mhm,
Okay. Okay.
mhm.
Interesting. That's good to know. This is
Because
all good to
nothing
know.
else about your body has worked right. So I don't know why you thought like I did, right? I can't tell you I cried and cried.
Why?
I was like, for hundreds of thousands of years, women have been feeding their babies, and not only can I not
Aw.
make a baby, but now I can't even feed one. Oh, I mean, like you know what mom hormones are like. Oh my God, I was a
Okay,
mess.
so you did have your down moments.
Oh, sweet Jesus, yes. Oh my Lord. Oh.
Okay.
With the first one especially, like, I was constantly terrified that that boy was gonna die of SIDS. Like,
Oh.
I lived in perpetual terror of SIDS. And, like, so I don't know, SIDS is most common in, uh, Black, Hispanic, but Native American is, like, off the charts for
Okay.
SIDS death,
Okay.
and my mom is full blood Comanche. So I'm like, I made little Native American babies, and now they're gonna die of the SIDS. And oh my God,
Oh, poor
I was,
girl. Oh,
oh, I know.
Michelle.
My sister's husband is Hispanic, and I was like, you just doubled down. Like, you didn't even pick a white dude. Those babies are good with the SIDS. You
Y-
picked a brown husband, and now
Yeah.
you're.
I know your sister's like, this girl is crazy.
Oh, always. She says that about me. Always. Which is, yeah. So,
Michelle, I mean, your experience is awesome. And I'm so happy that it was a positive outcome
yes.
because it's not always that way. Um, you have two beautiful little boys from this experience, and the fact that you were told you could never be a mom, and now you can prove them wrong. Now, as we start the other half of the conversation, my question was to you, do you have to plan sex now?
We try.
Oh,
And you know what they say about making
you
plans and
really
making God laugh?
wait a minute. Please specify plans because I'll tell you what I think after you say what you say. You really put it down in your book?
No.
Oh.
So, okay, here's our plan. Here's our plan.
Okay.
Our plan is that the children are in bed and not our problem as of 7 o'clock. That is the plan.
Oh, okay.
And that
Okay.
we do the dishes and then we go to bed and we take like, 30, 45 minutes to just be like, after a long day, right?
Okay.
And then by 8 o'clock, it's like, how you doing? Right. And
Okay.
so that is roughly the plan
Okay.
is that
I
on
respect
the
that
regular,
plan. But
right?
you're not planning ahead. You're not putting it down in your book like, all right, honey, you know what? Thursday night.
Tuesday night is
Yeah.
Nookie.
No.
No, 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 no,
Okay,
no, no, no,
good.
no, no, no,
Because
no.
I'm definitely not for that. Because I don't
No,
even know how
it's
some people can do
no,
that.
I know people do, but no, no, it's more for us. It's just like I need before I can get in the mood, like I just have to decompress from my day and my
Hmm.
children.
Yeah.
And so for us, it's more like don't come at me with that thing until I've had a good 30 minutes
Don't come
to
at me with
like
that stick. Leave that
don't point
stick.
that at me.
Don't point it
That's
at me, okay?
right.
Tame
That's right.
yourself.
That's right. Like, I appreciate how you're feeling. And in about 45 minutes, I'm going to be feeling something similar. But right now, you and all your ideas,
Need to wind down.
y'all did not cook dinner or do the dishes. So, you know,
That is
you want
good.
to handle those things, we can work on time. But so that's always our plan, right?
Okay.
And then but then life happens. So then it's like, well, the kids didn't actually get down until 7:30, or he had a late night call with Australia at 9 o'clock, or because my husband works for a global company. So
Okay.
he has all kinds of hours and that sort of thing. And so, you know, shit happens.
Of
But
course, shit does happen. So that plan I definitely respect. I do have one girlfriend I did an interview on, and she was the one that feels like it should be planned. So
oh,
oh yeah, that's my girlfriend. I love her to death. I do. But she's all about the plan, put it down in her book and schedule ahead of time. So that's where we go into the next question. Number one, do you still get a period?
I occasionally. do.
Occasionally. Okay. Would you have sex during your period? And have you?
So I thought this was an interesting question. So when I had cervical cancer,
Uh-huh.
I bled for a year. So for 12 months straight, I bled
355, 56, how many days? 300,
65 days.
365 days in a year you bled. Heavy bleeding or every day was different?
Every day was different, but some of it was hemorrhagic
So
bleeding.
this is interesting because your situation is not the typical 7 days out the month. For a whole year, you were bleeding. How did you and your husband handle that? Because you and many other women probably have gone through this. And how do you handle that? And what do you do? Because I'm assuming sex is not just taken off the topic.
No, 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 no,
Okay.
no. So, girl.
Girl, you
First
know
of
there's somebody out there that will probably make their
oh,
husband wait.
for sure. I just we talked about it really early on,
Okay.
and he was like, "I mean, I don't care if you don't care." And I
Okay.
was like,
Okay.
"Works for me."
Okay.
So we you know, if we were going to have intercourse, we would put down a towel.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Um but I mean, that's just not a big deal, right? Like you keep a towel by the bed. So it's not like you got to be like, "Hang on, baby. Let me go get a towel." Right? Like hey, we're going to like we're moving in that direction. And then there's 9,000 other things you can do before you have to deal with that. Do you know what I mean?
Yes. Yes.
Like, and so we did all of those things too. So, like, we had a great sex life. We
Mhm.
have much more sex then than we do now with two toddlers.
And when I
But
put this question down, I didn't think of what you just told me because I never had my period for a whole year. And how do you go from not having a period at all? What was your mental state like? I mean, the first 3 days I'm bleeding, we're talking about heavy flow. I'm I think my mood swings go up and down, and hubby always gets the worst end of the stick because I'm living with this man, so he sees every mood that I'm going through. But how are you dealing? You're bleeding out your vagina for 1 year.
Mhm.
How inconvenient.
Oh, you don't even know. And so I wasn't having a period. So mine was because I had tumors that had built up in my uterus. My uterus was basically full of tumors,
Okay.
and the irritation from them was causing bleeding, but then sometimes they would like fall off and rip off, and so I would get, and then that's when I would have hemorrhagic bleeding
I see. I
from
see.
that. So like I had an hour and a half commute over a bus, two trains, and a cab at the end. And I think 3 times
You
during that
took public
time.
transportation to work?
Mhm. I was in England at the time. So yeah.
Ah,
Mhm,
got it.
mhm,
Makes sense.
mhm.
Okay, got it.
And I think 3 times during that, I bled out at work, and I had to make that whole trip home just covered in blood. And when I mean bled out, I use the tampons this big, and 3 of the hospital grade pads, and that would last me about 15 to 30 minutes.
Oh my god, when I bleed heavy, I don't use the tampons because it's
Yeah,
such a
it
heavy flow
hurts.
and it's
Yeah.
messy, but
Mhm.
I have, like, the thicker like those overnight pads?
Yep.
So I have those, which is enough, but for you, you were soaking through that, so the bleeding was 3 of them. Okay. Alright, but it was coming like a period, but it was
It
not a
felt yeah.
period.
Yes. So when it started, it just felt like it was this like continual light period, but I didn't have the mood swings, is what I was trying to say with all of this.
Okay.
Like it was because it was a separate medical
Issue,
condition.
exactly.
We did have the "oh shit, I have cancer" with all of this, which was
Uh-huh.
not like separately not fun.
Got it.
But yeah, it was weird. And then when I the big thing though really was when I was 35 and I suddenly had periods, and I had no idea. So if you think back to when you were in high school,
Mhm.
right? And you had no idea what you were doing with your period,
No.
and you probably got blood like up to your elbows and like you probably have a list of embarrassing things you can think of,
We all do.
period related.
Soaking through the pants, the jeans. You got to make sure, okay, I got to wear black pants today because it's heavy, blah,
I
blah,
got to
blah.
have all of those moments as a 35-year-old professional. It sucked. It sucked.
And then
And I
you're
still
heavy bleeding. This is
and
hemorrhaging.
mhm. And I still now when I do get my periods, it's crazy like I have endometriosis. So it's like extreme periods with extreme pain
Oh,
and
gosh.
yeah.
Was it
So,
painful within that year to have sex?
yes.
It was.
To have sex?
Yes.
It wasn't painful to have sex.
Oh, it was not.
My vagina was not where the pain was coming from.
Okay, got it. So that wasn't painful, at least for that moment. It was enjoyable, even though you were bleeding.
Yes.
Okay. All right, good. Did you know now that didn't cause it to be heavier or not like
So, as things progressed and we knew more about what was going on, we
mhm.
came to understand that the more intense I had orgasms,
Uh-huh.
then, especially if I had like multiple in a day, what have you, then that often resulted in the tumors getting dislodged and then would result in hemorrhagic stuff because your uterus is
It's
contracting
contracting
when.
again. Okay, so this is all learning for me how
Mm.
an orgasm affects your entire part of your body. Because I never thought about, oh, all this contraction going on in your uterus, but obviously it is. I'm just in the enjoying of the moment, but
Oh,
there's
yeah.
like
There's just the
medical
fun
reason.
part.
Yeah, the fun
Yeah.
part, but there's so much medical reasons attached
Mhm.
behind that orgasm. That's going to be my next topic. Ah, you just gave me an idea. I
There we go. You're welcome.
gotta. Okay. So, in your situation, I wanted to ask you you've
Mhm,
been married twice. This
mhm,
is your second husband. So, I'm going
mhm.
to ask you does penis size matter for you? Because your
Um,
husband was not your first, your second husband was not your first.
oh, neither of them have been anywhere close to my first.
Okay. So,
So
does penis
I
size
was
matter?
definitely it had a big whoring period in my. I've seen all of the sizes and all of the flavors.
Okay. Good.
Um, so first of all, I am bisexual. So I
Okay.
enjoy both sex with penis and without penis. Uh,
Vagina.
mhm. Um, so from that perspective, I'm gonna have to say it really like it's the whole experience. I think that the feels differently to have different sized penises in you and for some things in some positions, etc. One size feels different from another, but I would say that if you're with somebody who has a smaller penis, that's why God gave us the vibrator. Do you know what I mean? Like you can do things like if you want to do something that requires the larger size than what you've been blessed with, then like you can buy those on Amazon. Like I just
Wait, I can't. Okay.
yeah.
So I partially agree in my opinion. Okay. So hubby is not, okay. So hubby is my first, but he's not the only one that I've been with because we
Okay.
were just fuck buddies at first. So I've
Sure.
experienced other sizes. In my defense, I do believe size matters because I've had extremely big, I've had small, and extremely big is trash. I don't want it because it was painful and it hurt
Yeah.
and it wasn't comfortable. You were no, the size didn't fit. It's like a puzzle and it was forcing to like make make it work and I'm like this is not enjoyable at all.
But that's my point. So, like, it depends on what you're trying to do, right?
Uh-huh.
So, some positions, like, you don't want 9 inches because that's just going to hurt.
Okay.
Some positions, actually, that can feel really good. So, it just depends on what you're trying to do. And so, you need to know what you're working with and be honest about what you're working with and find the things that work well with that. Does that make sense?
That does
So
make
smaller
sense.
is great, like, from behind, or smaller. It can also be really great with the woman on top.
Hmm.
Bigger is better if you like old school missionary, and ain't nothing wrong with a little missionary every once in a while. So,
I agree and I understand. I guess number one, too, it was a fling. So there was really, truly no connection there. So
mhm.
I wasn't like, it was missionary style and that was painful for me. So I
Oh.
was, yeah, my little uterus and my insides are petite. As the doctor said, I tried to have a natural birth, and the lady was like, your insides are too small. You can't. We have to have a C-section. So I guess my insides are extremely like small in frame. 4'11", I guess. I,
Oh, you're tiny. Yeah,
tiny. So yeah, I was missionary style, and it was extremely uncomfortable, too big. But maybe if there was a more emotional connection and a connection in other ways and it wasn't just a fling, we could
sure.
have made it work. But I agree with you. If you connect with that person in different ways, both emotional, spiritual, and you guys have a good bond, you could possibly make the sexual work because there's so many different positions you can try and so many things that you could do.
Yeah,
So I agree with you in that aspect, but I do feel like like the size I have right now, I love it. I
sure.
appreciate it. I'm always jumping on it. So I think because I've experienced others, that's one thing I can say. I have no desire to like, I'm not missing out. I don't care about small or big because I've had it all. So I'm good.
I have no complaints with what I have, but I will say that that I also am not shy about saying that we use sex toys, and
We have as
you know
well. Yep.
you
We have
know,
as well.
like, I think that's healthy, and I think that that's part of,
It
you know,
spices up the relationship,
spice
Michelle.
up.
Let me tell you, same old shit all the time gets boring. You have to spice up your sex life. Missionary's not
Absolutely.
cutting it every day.
Nope.
Doggy style's not cutting it every day. It's okay to introduce different things, but it's all about that couple's comfort level. Like I've spoken to women that refuse to do fellatio. Why, I don't know. And in my mind, this was in when I was in my 20s, and I'm thinking, well, goddamn, he probably gonna get that shit from somewhere else. This is all, and I don't tell him this, but really, like seriously,
Yeah. No, I like the women I know who have issues with oral sex. It's like they can't get out of their head that like that's what they pee from. And in their head, like they're sucking on a pee straw. And I understand that. Like that's not an appetizing thought as
but
well.
that
But you
same
have
woman,
to,
wait, where they pee from, Michelle, the same woman I talked to didn't mind having cunnilingus. What am I pronouncing it wrong?
yeah,
Sh-
cunnilingus.
Having it done to her. She's pissing out of
Yeah.
that shit. She's bleeding out of that shit. So that don't fly for me.
I I get it. I get it. I don't have a problem with any of that stuff, but, like, I understand, like, everybody has their comfort level. I am 45? I am not 45 years old.
Are
I
you
don't know where that
adding
came from.
age?
I am.
Girl, you crazy?
I know, I'm only 42. But so I'm in my 40s, he's in his 40s. I got a bad back and 2 toddlers. Shit does not move and bend like it used to. Do you know what I mean?
Yo,
Like
this chick said I have a bad back.
I do. Like, I am not looking to bust out the Kama Sutra in my 40s. You know what I mean? Like, we're gonna have to find some like really low impact ways to spice this stuff up. And there are a lot of options out there that do not require me to put my ankles behind my head or do you know what I mean? Like, because that's just not gonna happen. And like I know, right? Because you're talking about, well, missionary or doggy style. I can list like hundreds of positions, probably
There's
if I wanted to,
numerous.
but damn, that does not look comfortable.
Not all of it is
And
comfortable because I've tried a few, and two, it depends on height. Hubby and I
yes,
have tried a few positions, and because of like I'm so small and he's 5'8", I'm 4'11". Some of them just don't work because of our like
yeah.
height. It's not
So my
sitting
husband
right.
is 6'4",
Oh my gosh.
and I'm 5'6". And it's just, it's this massive difference, same kind of thing, right? And he's a big guy, and it's just all of it requires workarounds.
Michelle, hold that thought. This is why
Yep.
I have to do soft editing. My son interrupts. What you want, little boy? Where were we at, Michelle? Can you
We
regroup
were
yourself?
talking about me being
Penis
too
size?
old for bendy
Yes.
stuff.
Okay. Or I could start with the new question. I guess where did you like finish off or should I
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah,
okay.
yeah. Go
All
ahead.
right. So let's see. As we're gonna come to an end. Oh my God, we've had such a good conversation. I'm not gonna ask you all the questions, but
You're fine.
my last thing. Oh, that's my last thing. So I know you said you're bisexual. Now,
Mhm,
I've been with a girl.
mhm,
I wouldn't say I'm bisexual, but I have no problem having like a threesome
mhm,
with hubby. Now today that's not I think I've outgrown it. I don't even know if that makes sense, but in my younger years,
mhm.
I've been with a girl and we wouldn't have a problem having a threesome. We never have, but have you introduced the threesome with your husband or is it just you?
So that is a hilarious question for a couple of reasons. So, um, in our group, social group, and including like our church group, so at our church, there's probably I could probably count on two hands all of the monogamous couples, and all the other couples are poly.
At the church?
And yes, ma'am. And
Is it at the church? A-
yes, ma'am.
And y'all just
Including
open about it? This is a
they are
not
very open. So they're
wow.
poly, which does not mean like they're just, sleeping with everybody in the
Yes,
rafters.
I
It
know what
means that
that
like
means. Yep.
there's rules and they,
Mm-hmm.
and so for some reason, like my husband and I are like, we're the old fuddy-duddies in out of all of our friends because we're both like we're super possessive. Like somebody looks at my husband the wrong kind of way and they're about to get cut.
I
Like
know what you mean, girl.
that is mine.
I know what you mean.
I paid for that with blood, sweat, and tears for 12 goddamn years. Get your own, right? Like, I bore 2 babies for that man. And he feels the same, right? He's like, I wrestled that bitch away from some other dude that used to be my best friend. I made 2 babies with her. Don't. Just know.
Hold up. That's a
Oh,
whole
yeah.
nother conversation. Was the first husband, second husband's best friend? Oh, bitch, we need a part two. We need a part two. We gonna have a part two. I need to hear that story. We gonna have a part two. Oh shit. Okay, go ahead. Continue, Michelle.
But so we talk about it because it's like it's everywhere in our world, right? Like we have all of these we're always like that sounds fucking exhausting. I cannot imagine having another grown up that I was trying to put emotional time and energy into the way I don't feel like I have the time and energy to give my husband what he deserves,
Mm-hmm.
let alone a boyfriend or a girlfriend. Like that's crazy. I just don't I'm just in awe of the stamina, like the emotional stamina of those people being able to have kids and so like one of their folks has 3 kids,
Mm-hmm.
2 husbands. I can't even imagine.
That's a lot.
I
I totally agree with you because it is a lot. Both hubby and I have cheated. So we've
Mhm.
seen the other side of the spectrum. That shit takes work, Michelle.
Yes. It is just tiring. I joke with my husband now, we both work from home. Girl, if he's cheating on me, I'm mostly impressed. Like, scheduling wise, how did you do that? Because I see you every hour of every day.
It takes a lot of work to cheat on your significant other, your spouse, whatever, your boo thing, whatever you want to call them. It takes
Yeah.
work because now you have to make sure that person is not calling at certain times. You have to also
Yes.
dedicate time to that person. Jealousy at some point is going to play in a role because we both have experienced it from each person that we cheated on each
Absolutely.
other with. No, motherfucker, don't call me. I told you I'm busy right now. And then it's like, you have to now
Yep.
fix your face, go in some corner, say what you got to say. Now go back to
Yes.
your boo and be like, okay, let's get back in motion. What? No.
It's so much easier to just fix what's wrong in your marriage. For me, like, I'm just lazy like that, right? Like, this guy, I can just be
Girl,
like,
I don't
"Hey,
call it lazy, Michelle. Like,
here's what's, we need to do this, this, and this." And like, marriages work, and we have to have hard conversations, and we have to talk through things. But god damn, that's easier than finding somebody that you don't hate, right? Because
mm-hmm,
again, massive introvert.
mm-hmm.
So like, finding somebody that you want to cheat with and then trying to manage all that, no. And we're just too possessive to have an open relationship. And that includes even just, so we have some friends that aren't poly, but they're what we call swingers,
Okay.
which means that they invite people into their bedroom, but not into their relationship.
Is it like
So,
open? See, these are all the things I have to get familiar with. Is
mhm.
open marriage still the same as
So
swingers?
no. So an open marriage means that you are married and you come home at night to each other as a primary. But usually that means that you can go and date and have other relations of sexual or what have you. Swingers are couples who engage in sex with other people. They usually have very strict rules about what that is and what that looks like. So for some of them, it's about you can't do it without the other partner there. And for others, it is don't ask, don't tell. For some of them, it is they can only bring another woman in. So, like you said, you and your husband have talked about you'd be open potentially to a threesome if you found the right partner. Great. So that's a rule as a potential swinging couple that you have, right? That like it would
Okay.
have to be a mutually agreed upon third party and it would have to be a female. As opposed to if you went out and you were like, "Hey baby, I met this really hot guy. What do you reckon?" You know, in the dark a mouth is a mouth, am I right? Like,
I see. Okay. And what is poly?
so poly are those are people who love multiple people. So they have a relationship that allows them to have a full-blown emotional committed relationship with other people. So that would be like you're married to your husband, but you can still you meet some guy, he asks you out, you can go on a date. And then, like I said, one of my friends from church has 2 husbands. So she has, the guy that is she's legally married to, and then the guy that she has had a commitment ceremony that she's emotionally married to. And then her first husband also has a girlfriend that he's pretty serious with on the side. And but, like, she could go tomorrow and go out on a date with a third party, and that would be acceptable and fine within the bounds of their agreement.
Michelle, we're going to end today's interview as we continue part 2 because we still need to continue sex in a marriage. We also
Okay.
still need to hear the story of how you married your second husband's best friend. Okay.
Okay.
I would love to hear that story. And I think our listeners would love to hear it either. Or
I'm
love to
in.
hear it also, I should say, also.
Yeah,
So we need to continue this conversation. So
okay.
as we end today, we're going to end part 1 with Michele, Sex in the Relationship for season 3. And we will be continuing part 2, and we will be back for Michele to continue the conversation with us. And as we always end, love yourself, voice yourself, and be yourself. Till the next podcast. Thanks for tuning in to Fanpale Podcast. If you want to continue the conversation or share your takeaways, I want to hear from you. Head on over to the website or join our Facebook community and comment your favorite part of the show or share your thoughts. I want to hear what you have to say. Don't forget to rate and subscribe to the podcast so you never miss an episode. Chat with you next week.